Okay, I don't know what that means. We got a great show ahead for you guys today, and we have a fun announcement in the second hour. I think we usually deliver on our fun announcements, so that's coming up. And on the issue of parity for in terms of pay for women and men in the movies, there's a story out today that made me see things in a little bit different light, and I think it might do the same for you guys. And I think it's really, really interesting. That's in the second hour. I don't want you to miss that. And then also in the second hour, Oprah, is she going to run or not? She has a statement. It appears definitive. Well, what is it? Okay. All right, second hour. And then later in this hour, is Bernie going to run? Big article about that today. Apparently there was a huge meeting. Huge. Interesting. Okay, so we'll do that later in the program. Now, I appear to be in a good mood. That will change rapidly as we go to the next story about how the Democrats have caved in again. Go. So last night, Political reporting that we have yet another cave-in by the Senate Democrats. So you remember, of course, the budget showdown, and there was a quote unquote deal made, and in that deal, the Democrats appeared to have gotten very little. Now, at the time though, I said, look, let's be fair. It's only a 3-week extension. It's not like they made the actual deal itself. They're still gonna have to deal with this on February 8th. And they got CHIP in there, Children's Health Insurance, which was bipartisan to begin with. Anyway, the Republicans had recently were taking it hostage, taking out the funding. So they played that game, and so they got that. But if it turns out that when the actual budget happens 3 weeks from now, they then get the DREAM Act in there and deliver as they have been promising all along for the Dreamers, and make sure that those 800,000 folks can stay in the country who are in good standing, well then that would be a different story. Well, it looks like the jury's beginning to come in on that. So here's Politico. Senate Democrats are willing to drop their demand that relief for Dreamers be tied to any long-term budget agreement, a potential boost for spending talks, but one that could face opposition from their House counterparts. These Senate Democrats are amazing. I don't think they have any sense of what's going on in the outside world. They live in their own bubble, and they talk to one another like, do you want to cave in? Oh yeah, of course, yeah, me too. Yeah, you want to cave in too? Oh, we've got elections coming up. So what? So do the Republicans. And if you hold strong, you might actually defeat them. Oh, but we have elections coming up. Look, you should be looking forward to elections. You should be looking forward to making your case. But they're so scared constantly. The other bubble they live in is for 4 to 5 hours a day, all they do is talk to donors. They're almost all millionaires. What do you think we should do? Oh, we should cave in because you don't want the stock market affected. No problem, can do, can do. All right, so let me give you more here. Dick Durbin, number 2 Democrat in the Senate, which is already, I mean, that's your number 2 Democrat, and Schumer's your number 1. Well, pillars of strength they are. Okay, he says, we're viewing immigration and spending on separate terms because they are on separate paths. So I need to explain what that means to you guys. That means we're gonna do the budget first, and later Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump have promised to us that we will handle the Dreamer issue. Later, after we have lost all of our leverage. The leverage is that Republicans need Democratic votes in order to pass the budget. So they're gonna give away that leverage and then rely on the goodwill of Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. They say this with a straight face. And that's after Trump already bragged and the Republicans already bragged after the 3-week deal and spiked the ball in their face and said, ha, you losers, you caved in, we won, you lost. And they go, okay, you're right, we're gonna cave in again. By God, have at least some self-respect, even if you don't care about any of your constituents, even if you don't believe in any progressive priorities, and by the way, they definitely do not. I told you in an earlier story earlier in the week, turns out that all this time, the Dreamers were nowhere near their top priorities. They said it was a minor issue. What they were actually concerned about and why they shut the government down, or along with the Republicans for 3 days, was because they wanted to show the Republicans that they felt personally insulted because they were not consulted. Oh, so it was about your power and privilege. And now we know for sure, because when it comes to the Dreamers, right onto the bus. So a senior House Democratic aide says on the other hand, we are insisting that these things be in the same negotiation. To us, what's important is, are these talks linked or not linked? To us, they are linked. So that is good news from the House Democrats saying we do not agree with the Senate Democrats. When the House Democrats think you're too weak, oh boy, you really ought to check yourself in the mirror. Okay, more from Politico. Negotiators have already agreed to a massive boost to the Pentagon's budget. This is the sprinkle on top. While the figures are still in flux, multiple sources say Congress would raise military spending by at least $70 billion above the caps for fiscal 2018 and $80 billion in fiscal 2019. As Politico explains, that is much higher than what Donald Trump requested. Donald Trump requested a massive increase in defense spending, and the Democrats are now working with the Republicans to say, not enough. Let us give you more. Not only are we not going to get anything in return, we're not going to get the Dreamers. We didn't get that. But there's the issue of the domestic spending and the defense spending, and if you give us normal discretionary spending, we're not going to ask for the things you took hostage earlier. We're just going to give you more and more defense spending. You know why? Because we think, what a bunch of losers, right? They get nothing in the deal. But you have to understand something. They're also corrupt. They also want the extra money to go to defense contractors. Why? Because the defense contractors are also their donors. That's why they're giving, that's not something that they have gotten in return. They're happy to do more wasteful spending in defense because they're the same, they have, in that case, the same exact donors. Dreamers, are you guys donors? Do you give millions of dollars? Oh, you don't. Well, golly gee, the Senate Democrats happen to find you underneath a bus. The guys who do give them millions of dollars, well, they're going to get billions, tens of extra billions in return, on top of what Trump asked for. Funny how that works. But yet, television, money in politics, is it an influence? Still the sound of silence. Oh, did they do a good job of negotiating? What are their priorities? What do they care about policy? They don't give a goddamn thing about policy. Aren't you sick and tired of Democrats that you have to push and beg and plead to be progressive, to for once take a progressive position? Nope, they're not gonna do it. And even after all that pushing and begging and pleading, they still don't do it. Oh, it's easy to do Mick resistance. Oh, Russia. Now, whether you think Russia had a deal with Trump, and I do, but that's easy to say, man. So I care about it in terms of substance. But for the Democrats, it's a punchline. It's a distraction to make sure that you don't talk about policy. I have a revolutionary idea that apparently no one agrees with. I think you can talk about Trump's deal with Russia and policy. Because the point of that is not like, ha ha, we got you. The point of it is Trump is a dangerous guy. And if he actually did a deal, we should get rid of him. But so that the eventual goal is policy. I don't give a damn if Dick Durbin wins in another election. What has he done for us? Nothing. What do I care about Chuck Schumer's power? Why would I give a damn? He doesn't give a damn about you. Why should we give a damn about him? But they assure us, no, we got elections coming up. So you better make sure you vote for us, because if we win in 2018, then we'll fight for the Dreamers. Oh, come on, piss off already. How many times have we heard this for 40 years? Oh, give us more, give me more power, give me more privilege, and then maybe at the end of that I will give you. Look, you had super majorities under Obama. Why didn't you deliver for all these people then? You spent all that time working on a Heritage Foundation, Mitt Romney plan on healthcare, and then bragged to the ends of the earth, we have fixed healthcare. That was the beginning. All you got in a supermajority was the beginning on one issue. All the rest, nothing. Oh, don't worry, elect us more, and then you'll get it. No, we've seen that movie before. As I told you, Politico explains that defense spending is, quote, a huge increase, and, quote, much more than the White House's most recent budget request. Congratulations, you gave Donald Trump more than he asked for. Guys, you must be so proud. What a great bunch of negotiators. To make Donald Trump an incompetent businessman who went bankrupt 6 times, a man clearly lacking any intelligence at all, to make him look like a good negotiator. How pathetic, stupid do you have to be? And most importantly, craven. Senator Patty Murray, another member of the Democratic leadership, said that although she would prefer a deal to protect young undocumented immigrants be part of the budget negotiations, the agreement reached with McConnell could make that impossible. The Kentucky Republican has said the Senate would turn to an immigration bill only if the government is still funded, and a few Democrats seem to want another shutdown. I can't take these guys, man. I can't. So she says, well, it's impossible because McConnell said that he doesn't agree. Yeah, that's because he's on the other side. You're also supposed to say, I don't agree. I'm gonna fight for my side. Instead they go, oh, McConnell says we can't do it. Well, I guess then we can't do it. It's impossible. It's impossible. Losers, losers, paid to lose. She says she would prefer to help the Dreamers, but she won't. She won't fight for them. Fight? No, I have elections coming up. My precious beloved ass is on the line. Schumer, Durbin, Murray, all of them, okay? February 8th, we're gonna have, Patty Murray says, we're gonna have another stopgap bill, but we have to have that budget agreement in order to move forward. That's the goal. And then the deal is that if DACA is not part of that, then it will be the next thing considered. In other words, we're gonna take Mitch McConnell's word for it. We're gonna give away all of our leverage because we like to lose and our donors are super happy when we give the Republicans everything they want. And then after we lose, and then they rub it in our face a little bit more, Trump is gonna brag and brag. Where the fuck is your resistance? When it comes to policy, never, never, no resistance. Oh, let's do a rally. Hey, vote for me. No, corporate Democrats, you're all corrupt, no interest. So they say, oh, what were my chances? I got people on Twitter going, but Cenk, be reasonable. How could they have possibly fought? They had to lie down again. They had to lie down and go to sleep. How could they possibly fight for us? Under these circumstances, let's show you budgets, the Trump's approval ratings. He's sitting at 36% approval. That's miserable. 58% of the country disapproves of Donald Trump. You can't fight a president that unpopular. Clean up, go home, retire immediately. Retire immediately. If you say, oh, I got elections, there's a guy on the other side with 36%. What do you want, 26%, 16%? Oh, come on, man. Okay, so that's the other side. And they're running like cowards from a guy who has 36% while pretending to do resistance. And how about on DACA? Well, maybe DACA is unpopular. Maybe this DREAM Act is, hey, it's a decent thing to do, it's the moral thing to do, it's the right thing to do, it's the economically correct thing to do, but maybe the American people don't want to do it. Get a load of this. This is a new poll from CBS. 87% of Americans said they believe that the so-called Dreamers should be allowed to remain in the US if they meet certain requirements such as working or going to school. And that is the deal, that's DACA. You have 87% of the American people on your side, and you still won't fight. That is a white flag of surrender. That means we will never fight for you under any circumstance. The other side is abhorrent. The guy we're pretending to resist, he is deeply, historically unpopular. Our side is historically popular, and we still won't fight. Primaries, 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 primaries. You better get out there and vote in primaries. Don't listen to cable news telling you, oh, general election, when you have two, you got the lesser of two evils, you got two losers, you got two corporate guys who basically agree to the same thing. Primary the living hell out of them. Look, Justice Democrats. So that is one option for you guys. They are uncorrupted. None of them are taking corporate PAC money. You can think whatever you want, look into their policy positions, go to their websites, justicedemocrats.com. But at least you know they're working for you and not for corporate donors, because they don't take corporate donors. You want to go to another group, bless your heart. You want to go to other candidates, bless your heart. Find candidates who do not take corporate PAC money, otherwise they will never, ever work for you. So I have them on all the time. Rebel headquarters, we do that right after the Young Turks. We do it at 8 o'clock every night, right here on tytnetwork.com/live. Go to youtube.com/tytpolitics. Listen to all the interviews. Some of them are Justice Democrats, some of them are not. But they're actual progressives, and you don't have to beg them to be progressive. They're already progressive. I know that it seems like, oh my God, if you're a progressive in America, you have to bow your head and just ask for crumbs off the table. You don't. The way you do hardball politics is you beat them. You crush them in the primaries. None of these guys are ever gonna work for you. And if you don't get out there and you don't register and you don't go to those primaries and you don't defeat these guys, then don't come crying in general elections. And don't come, then just stop watching, stop following news. If you're not gonna get up and fight, get up, get up, get up. Take all these corporate Democrats out during the primaries. Go to justicedemocrats.com if you want. Go to wolf-pack.com to get money out of politics. This is grotesque. I'm so tired as a progressive, constantly asking our supposed representatives to represent us. It is exhausting. Why don't we just defeat them and get actual, wouldn't it be amazing to get actual progressives in the Senate and in the House? You have a couple, like we get Bernie, we're like, oh my God, Bernie. They say, why do you love Bernie? Because he's the one guy you don't have to convince to be a progressive. He's been progressive for 40 years. You think Dick Durbin, Patty Murray, Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, Joe Manchin, you think any of these people are progressive? Mick resistance. Oh, yay, let's go to a rally. Please vote for me. Meanwhile, I'll give Trump everything he wants and then some. That's how these losers are. Well, great, let them lose in primaries. Every one of you better go out there and vote in those primaries. Take them all down. I don't know if you can tell that I'm frustrated with them. They're the worst of the worst. To lose to goddamn Trump. To fucking give up to Trump. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, let's turn to Trump. I'm not in much of a mood to do this story because it's a goofy, fun story about an idiot Donald Trump. But every time I look at Trump, that fucking loser, and to see the Democrats cave in, buckle into him, loser of fucking losers. And then they, oh, Bernie, why are you fucking shitting me? Who lost to this moron, this fucking idiot? Who lost to this fucking idiot? He barely has 2 brain cells to rub together. Hillary Clinton, the Democratic says, oh, we're so smart, we got a great strategy. We're not gonna talk about policy at all, okay? The American people, they don't want any change, we're gonna fight for the status quo. The only people dumber in the country than Donald Trump is the Democratic Party officials. They lost 1,000 fucking seats to the Republicans. 1,000 seats across the country. They got more votes in the Senate elections than the Republicans did overall. Same in the House, same in the White House. Yet they have none of those branches of government. Losers, losers, losers. Pathetic fucking losers. Oh my God, they gerrymandered. I didn't see that coming. God damn it. Okay. Look, guys, I'm on a warpath. I'm not gonna do this story. We'll come back and do this story. You go over here for a second, okay? Look, guys, you gotta fight, okay? I know you hear me say it, but you know, you talk about revolution, you put on a resist shirt, you put on a revolution shirt, you wanna, but then you gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta get up off the couch. Join any group you like. I don't care which group, okay? I do care, there's some groups that are better than others, but it doesn't matter as long as you're doing something. And so if, look, volunteer, register, vote, and I don't mean like this fucking establishment, wait for the general election, vote between 2 assholes, okay? Yeah, when you get to the general election, then choose the lesser of the assholes. But that's not the important part. The important part is primaries. Get out there, vote for it. Look, guys, an hour a week. It's not too much to ask for, an hour a week. And you might be energized by it. You might be shocked by how much you like it. Look, at Rebel headquarters tonight, I'm gonna talk to guys from Wolfpack, 3 different volunteers from Wolfpack, okay? They're fighting all across the country. One of them is a chemist. The other one is a cook at IHOP. And you know what he did? He got up. He got up and he said, I'm gonna fight for democracy. You gotta see his story. And you can make your own stories. We're gonna try to feature you guys out there volunteering, working for these different campaigns. If I gotta talk about Allison Hartson every day to defeat Dianne Feinstein, if that's the one thing I can do, then I'll do it. Whatever you gotta do, just, you can't sit there and complain and not get up and do something about it. So, look, what I know is justicedemocrats.com. I know those candidates are wonderful. I know they're uncorrupted. I know Wolfpack's gonna get the 28th Amendment and get money out of politics. So join the fight, okay? Young Turks.
They'd rather lose to Republicans than have a progressive win with them. That's how dumb the corporate Democrats are.
It's the Democrats who lull you to sleep, and at the end of the day, they're the ones who push the right-wing agenda.
This is why you lost to Trump, you fucking moron. What the fuck is wrong with you? Whoever wrote that, I'm sure they were typing with one hand and going like this with you. The Democrats are dead. The way you feel right now, that's how a chump feels. Do not freak out.
right, back on the Young Turks. TJ Philp writes in, quote, why is Bernie the most popular politician in America? Senate Dems ask themselves as they sell out the American people again and again and again. Chris Allen says the Democrats are dead. Sarah Mack says, I love Cenk's outrage. It most accurately depicts how we feel inside about the weak corporate Democrats. Let's clean house. These guys have got to go. My loathing and disdain for them is at a maximum potential. And they don't get it at all. Edwin and I were just talking about it. They don't get it. They said, oh, we're like, what do you mean? Well, of course we have to surrender. What else could we do? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. All right, here, we'll show you what you can do. Let's go to this story. Interesting story out of Politico about a meeting that Bernie Sanders and his supporters had. Bernie Sanders convened his top political advisors in Washington on Saturday for a planning meeting that included a discussion of the feasibility and shape of a possible 2020 presidential campaign. Half a dozen senior Democrats familiar with the gathering confirmed to Politico. Look, we'll see how it turns out, but run, Bernie, run. The top line message the Vermont senator received from the operatives gathered during the government shutdown was a more formal version of the one they've been giving him regularly for months. You would be one of the front runners for the Democratic nomination, and if you want to run, it's time to start seriously planning accordingly. Run, Bernie, run. So, look, I want to explain something because Bernie Sanders and his staff, they also live in Washington. And now they've been fighting Washington 40 years. That's why they're not very popular within Washington. And that's also why they're incredibly popular in the rest of the country. But still, they live in that subculture. So there's a discussion about how he would be one of the favorites. No, you're wrong about that. He is the overwhelming favorite. So I don't base that on the fact that I agree with Bernie Sanders. I base that on reality, polling. Every poll shows he's the most popular politician in the country, nearly twice as popular as Donald Trump. Well, can't you read polls? Well, apparently the mainstream can't read polls. People that live in Washington are incapable of reading polls. They look at it and they immediately skip Bernie and they go, okay, who's next? Oh, we got Biden and we got Warren and we got Harris and Booker. And so, why did you skip the guy at the top? Well, no, because Bernie can't win. I've talked to reporters, I've talked to people in Washington. They're all like, Bernie, Bernie, he can never be president. I kind of remember them saying that about someone else. You guys remember who that might be? Oh yeah, Donald Trump. Didn't they assure us that he could never ever be president? And weren't they completely 100, 1000% wrong? You know, and in June of 2015, I said on this show that Donald Trump would win the Republican nomination. You know why I said that? Not because I like Donald Trump, I hate Donald Trump. Because I can read a poll. I'm not some sort of fortune teller. It's not that hard. You read the goddamn poll. He's a clear front runner. And the second thing that they are discounting because of their own enormous bias in this case is that he now has the advantage in terms of name recognition and brand. In 2016, he closed a 60-point lead on Hillary Clinton. He started at 2% and almost caught her. But what was the main reason he didn't catch her? Because she had enormous name recognition and he didn't have any when he started. It took him a year to get there. Now, the shoe's on the other foot. Who's Kamala Harris? Klobuchar. Who's Klobuchar? Klobuchar? Okay, everybody knows Bernie Sanders. But the people in Washington have their blinders on. They're like, no, it's definitely not Bernie, definitely. Who's next? Who's number 2? Who's number 8? I gotta find some, oh, number 9, look at that. Maybe it's Gillibrand. No, it's the guy at the top. It's the guy at the top with all the name recognition, with all the love, with all the support, with over 80% of Democrats who support him. We got people online talking about, oh, Bernie shouldn't split the vote. No, you shouldn't split the vote. He's the leader. So even to his own staff, I gotta tell you this, you guys aren't getting it. He's the overwhelming favorite. If he runs, his likelihood of winning is enormous. You're looking at the next president of the United States of America. Assuming that he decides to run, he's healthy. So if he doesn't run, the 2020 Democratic primaries are a mess. okay? And I don't know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a field of 15, 20 people, whatever. And I think a progressive will rise up and could still beat some of these establishment guys that'll have hundreds of millions of dollars. But if Bernie runs, it's not gonna be close. All this talk of like, oh my God, who's it gonna be? Which corporate Democrat is going to raise more money? And all these guys, they'll all talk about the money. Oh, Gillibrand raised this and Kamala Harris raised that. You're missing the picture. You've got your overwhelming favorite. He's right there at the top. Okay. Now, multiple Democrats close to Sanders insisted the meeting was not solely a 2020 planning session. That's fine, and they did. They apparently talked about 2018. Of course they did, because he's up for re-election as a senator of Vermont in 2018. Did they and should they talk about 2020? Of course they should. All right, now more context here. Sanders has remained toward the top of the polls. I love Politico, toward the top of the polls, surveying the potential Democratic field without fail after a stunning 2016 bid. And he has been working methodically to address major issues that plagued him politically last time, boning up on foreign policy and making nice with a series of party power brokers. He also visited both Iowa and New Hampshire multiple times in 2017, a traditional sign of a possible run. Now, when I say I love Politico, I don't mean that literally, it's sarcastic. So look, from time to time, they do good reporting and they get you good information, and this is good information and kudos to them. But the mindset, they also live in Washington. The mindset is Bernie's problems was not name recognition, was not that every television station in the country said that Hillary Clinton had an overwhelming lead before anyone cast the vote because they counted the superdelegates early. It was not the framing, was not the lack of debates, was not any of that. To them, oh, he had foreign policy issues. Really? How many Democrats were like, oh man, I'm not sure that I agree with Bernie Sanders' position on Pakistan. I've got concerns about that. Where's your polling to justify that? It doesn't matter. Replace Pakistan with Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Israel, Russia. It does. Where's your polling to suggest that Democratic voters had issues with his foreign policy? You don't have that. Democratic voters in general love his foreign policy. You say that because you think Bernie Sanders, he's not as good on foreign policy as Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was great on foreign policy. That's why she, got killed. Totally lost to the worst candidate we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Okay, and then the second part is he's got to make nice with a series of party power brokers. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Bernie, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not make nice with Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin and Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein. Don't do that. That is a path to disaster. That's a trap. The American people are not interested in those people. That's why you poll way higher than them. Because people don't like them, because they don't work. Those guys don't represent them. You represent them. Do not listen to the politicos of the world. If anything, it won't help you, it'll hurt you to get those guys behind you. And it's a trap anyway. They don't want you to win. They're gonna try to lure you in with, Bernie, and they did here, we're gonna put you in leadership. Not actual leadership, we're gonna make up a title for you, Bernie. Are we gonna actually listen to you on policy? No, we're gonna pat you on the head and put you in the front, get a big crowd, and then have you step aside and have us do nonsense Mick resistance and never ever listen to you on policy. So don't listen to those guys. Run, Bernie, run. Do what you've been doing for the last 40 years. Fight for progressives. And finally, Politico notes, the next day, he hosted a town hall event focused on his Medicare for All proposal that drew over 1 million viewers online. I believe I saw that somewhere. We've been right all along. All the way back in 2013, I said that Bernie Sanders could beat Hillary Clinton. People thought I was nuts. They thought he's a tiny little guy. He's never going to amount to anything. He's 2 to 3%. That's all he's ever going to get. Well, they were wrong. He almost did beat Hillary Clinton. He did now what Politico acknowledges is a miraculous, stunning race in 2016. Now he's the clear favorite. We said that if you go online, you'll get more viewers anyway. 1 million people watch that. We were right about that. Broadcast here on the Young Turks and a couple of other outlets like Now This and Attention. You don't need those cable news guys. They're never going to agree with you. All the money in politics that you're fighting against goes to the cable news and the television guys in the form of advertising. They're not on your side, they're against you. Just go to the people. Don't worry about anybody in Washington. Don't worry about any power brokers. Go to the people and run, Bernie, run. Okay, I'm clear. Let's go forward. Okay, now Oath Keepers. Okay. Is Donald Trump going to talk to Robert Mueller and answer questions about the Russia investigation? When asked about this in an impromptu get-together with reporters, he just stumbled into it. He was at the White House. They were over at another office, and Trump comes by. And staffers, you could almost see them going, no. So he comes by and they say, hey, are you going to talk to Mueller? He says, I'm looking forward to it, actually. Great, can't wait. He says, here's the story, just so you understand. There's been no collusion whatsoever. There's no obstruction whatsoever, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh, please talk to Mueller, please, 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 please. Okay, so he thinks he's going to outsmart Mueller. I got more on that in a second. Oh, that's going to be great, it's going to be awesome. But then here's the most important part. But would you do it under oath? Because if you lie under oath, that's a crime. Quote, I would do it under oath, absolutely. Now, here was his Republican allies' reaction to that quote.
Oh, did you?
We ruined this. Then he asked about Hillary Clinton. Did she do it on? He said she didn't do it under oath when she talked to the FBI. But he continued, but I would do it under oath. I would. Okay. Great, have at it, Hoss. Can't wait. Now, I don't believe him, as I'll explain at the end here. But just so you understand, under oath is usually in front of a grand jury. He's never going to do that. But it's okay, he doesn't need to be under oath. When you're talking to the FBI, if you lie to the FBI, that is a felony. So that would already be a crime. All he has to do is go and talk to Mueller, the special counsel, and if he lies, he'll already be in, that'll already be a criminal violation. So, but he doesn't understand anything. He told the reporters that he's just fighting back, and he says, you fight back, oh, it's obstruction. No, there's two different ways of fighting back, which are very, very important. One is, hey, I didn't do it, let me explain to you how I didn't do it, and here's my evidence for my no links to Russia, or you don't have evidence and I can prove that, or I can show that to you, right? Or I can just flat out deny it. That's fighting back. And you've got every right to fight back in every way in that sense. The other way to fight back is what Trump is doing. Oh, the guy investigating me, I'm going to fire him. No, you can't, that's not fighting back. That's obstruction of justice. That's not saying I'm right about the case and I'm talking to investigators. That's saying I'm going to fire the cop who's on the case. I'm going to fire the detective on the case. In this case, it was FBI Director James Comey. They asked him why. He said, he was investigating me. He was investigating Russia, so I fired him. That's not fighting back, that's obstruction of justice. You can't end the investigation of yourself. But he's too stupid to understand that. And he's too stupid to understand that he has no chance of outwitting anyone, let alone Mueller, let alone anyone at the FBI. Okay, people familiar with Mr. Trump's thinking have long described private conversations with the president in which he has said he is eager to meet with Mr. Mueller, a product of his belief that he can sell or coax almost anyone into seeing things his way. Oh, please do that. Please, I'm begging you, do that. Oh, no, Donald, you are totally right. I bet that you are smarter than Robert Mueller. I mean, I know that you're a very stable genius. I know you're like a very smart person. So you scored a 30 out of 30 on a test that decided whether you have dementia or not. So you got this, brother. You got it, okay? Coach, I bet you talk Mueller out of it. Go for it. Now, here was Republican reaction to him thinking he could outsmart Robert Mueller.
No.
All right, they said, you sure you want to do this? He said, quote, I would love to do that. I'd like to do it as soon as possible. Another mistake. So then his lawyer, Ty Cobb, jumps in with his funny name and mustache. And he says, he's ready to meet with them, but he'll be guided by the advice of his personal counsel. In other words, you know what? I think we have video from his lawyer too.
No! Bastard!
Okay, Christopher Ruddy is one of his better friends. They golf together all the time. They talk on the phone all the time, and he goes on TV and sticks up for Donald Trump. He runs Newsmax, a conservative outlet. He said, Trump should treat Mueller like a plague. He should assert executive privilege in every opportunity they can. In fact, we have a clip of Christopher Ruddy on television.
No! Please, God, no!
Roger Stone says the president would be very poorly advised to give Mueller an interview. Roger Stone's a devious guy, but he ain't stupid. He's like, don't do it, are you nuts? You're an idiot. In fact, one more, Roger Stone said, I find it to be a death wish. And added,
No, 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 no!
okay. Now, here comes other conservative figures to say likewise. Here's Rush Limbaugh.
There are conflicting opinions on whether or not Trump has to talk to Mueller, whether he should. He shouldn't. If you ask me, don't do it. I don't care what format. I don't care what circumstance. Just don't do it. There's nothing to gain, especially if they're off the collusion business. There's nothing to gain by talking to Mueller.
Oh, one more clip from Rush Limbaugh. Okay, look, the reality is these guys know the same thing we know, which is Donald Trump's an idiot. He's not going to outsmart anyone, let alone Mueller. Second of all, he did it, so he's going to accidentally spill the beans, and then he won't be able to back out of it because lying to the FBI is a federal crime. So, but here, and all of his friends who claim on TV that they think he's a genius and all this stuff. Here's Lou Dobbs.
I mean, the president is insisting that he will speak with a special counsel.
I think all these leaks that we've gotten from the special counsel's office indicate that there isn't a there in terms of Trump colluding with Russia to steal an election, and that they are interested in coming up with something else to justify their probe. That's a trap, and he needs to be careful, and he needs to not, I know he thinks, well, he didn't do anything wrong, so what's the problem? Just talk to them. That's not how the FBI works. That's not how Mueller works. He needs to be thoughtful about this.
Right.
My favorite was Dobbs, like, oh no, don't do that. Because even Dobbs knows he's a moron. Oh, sorry, one more from Dobbs. All right, last one, Napolitano. He agrees.
Says he's very eager, but you're the president's attorney. Would you have him sit down?
I would do everything I could to temper that eagerness. There's an old one-liner with which Ty Cobb is familiar. Don't talk to a guy that owns a grand jury, because he will find a way to trap you by reading to the grand jury what you told him and comparing it with other evidence. Never, 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 I can't say never enough. Let your client sit down with the prosecutors who are trying to develop a case against him. Never expect them to be fair. Never expect them to tell everything that they know. You will never know, and your client, the president, will never know everything that they know about him. It's a recipe for disaster.
Never, never, never. Recipe for disaster. Oh, right. One more from Napolitano. I think you get the point. All right, when we come back, man, the NRA still has not commented on whether they took money from the Russians and used it for Trump. Drums. Okay, that's, look, taking money and using it in presidential elections from foreign governments is deeply illegal. Fascinating. We'll talk about it when we come back. YT's been making a lot of moves. Now you can too. Now, how are you going to do that? You want to launch a new business? That sounds fun. You're going to change careers? Geez, Lord mercy. You're going to need a website for all that. Lucky for you, Squarespace also making moves. You're going to go to squarespace.com/TYT. You're going to get 10% off your first purchase, and you're going to get to build anything you want on that website with a unique domain. What are you, crazy? Go do it now. Go.
You know, I'm like a smart person.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Let me read a couple tweets for you. Isaiah Blair says, Jank man, I feel exactly like you. Please have that clip of your rant uploaded. I really need to share that. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Share all of our videos if you can on YouTube and Facebook, and share this live stream. Share it right now with people. Michael Napin says, but Jank, he is not the overwhelming choice of Democratic donors. Well, that is very true. But luckily, you remember by the end, Bernie Sanders outraised Hillary Clinton with only small donors. So at the presidential level, that is definitely possible. Admiral Marston says, Jake, remember when you said that Trump would win the presidency on TV? How did they react again? Because Trump could never win. Oh, right, they laughed at you. Perhaps they should listen to you now. Yeah, good luck with that. I don't think that's going to happen. Captain Jinglepants says, the establishment didn't like Sanders' foreign policy because he's in favor of ending the wars. Exactly. And finally, Mike Van Kugnit. Mike, it's inconceivable that I said that right. So, but anyway, thank you for tweeting in. He said, I'm a Canadian, and when Jenks said you're looking at the next president, Sanders, I got a warm feeling and smiled inside and out. Let us whisper of a dream. The dream lives. The dream lives. Okay, let's go over here and talk about the current president. God help us. Okay. McClatchy Newspapers has an amazing article, and they got it from inside sources, about the NRA and how they might have taken money from the Russians and spent it on Trump. So let's dive in. They explain the NRA reported spending a record $55 million on the 2016 elections, including $30 million to support Trump, triple what the group devoted to backing Republican Mitt Romney in the 2012 presidential race. Most of that was money spent by an arm of the NRA that is not required to disclose its donors. Now, this part is not in dispute. The NRA also agrees to that. McClatchy actually has a couple sources that are inside the NRA saying that they might have actually spent up to $70 million or more in the election. But since they don't have to disclose their donors and a lot of this is dark money, it is hard to ferret that out. But if they have violated the law, then the authorities are obligated to investigate and find out what happened. Well, so now look, if you say it's not that big a deal that they supported Trump a lot more than Romney, yeah, okay. I mean, number one, they've gotten more and more dark money as things go along. Mitt Romney was not a very exciting candidate for conservatives. And for gun owners, he had that hilarious line where he said that he hunts vermins. Okay, I get all that. And I think this system of allowing money in politics is insane. I think you need to get all that money out, the Republican money, the Democratic money, Bloomberg, Soros, Koch brothers, Mercers, I don't care, get it all out. But foreign money is illegal, okay? So let's find out if that's what happened. The FBI, they explain, is investigating whether a top Russian banker with ties to the Kremlin illegally funneled money to the National Rifle Association to help Donald Trump win the presidency. Two sources familiar with the matter have told McClatchy. Well, now that's a whole different cup of tea. So if they took money and they spent foreign money in the elections, that is a clear violation of the law and should have severe consequences. So what's amazing about this story is the NRA at the time and now today still not commenting. It's one thing to say, hey, look, these are serious legal proceedings and we'll save it for court. That's normal. But to not comment at all, to not deny it, well, that's fascinating. So they explain more. FBI counterintelligence investigators have focused on the activities of Alexander Torshin, the deputy governor of Russia's central bank, who is known for his close relationship with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and the NRA, the sources said. So Torshin is this central character. He's apparently an NRA member and has been for a while. Interesting. He set up his own version of a gun group in Russia. And then you could say, hey, look, maybe he's just interested in guns. Well, there might be a good reason for that. Let's find out more about Torshin. Torshin, a leading figure in Putin's party, has been implicated in money laundering by judicial authorities in Spain, as Bloomberg News first revealed in 2016. Russian doing money laundering connected to Trump. Well, I would never. It appears that there is plenty of evidence out there of some connections to money laundering and the Russians. Anyway, more on this. A summary obtained by McClatchy of the still secret report links torsion to Russian money laundering and describes him as a godfather in a major criminal organization called Taganskaya. So, now if the NRA takes money from a guy involved in money laundering and criminal activities and a godfather in Russia, first of all, that in itself is interesting, noteworthy. Even if they didn't spend it in politics, what are they doing taking money from a Russian godfather? Are they, if they're allowed to do that, are they allowed to take money from Mexican drug cartels? Are they allowed to take money from Chinese or Japanese gangs? Are they allowed to take money from the Taliban? Taliban's a foreign group. They also love guns. The Mexican drug cartels love guns. The Russian oligarchs and mobsters apparently love guns. So what, NRA should just take money from them? But okay, that would be a PR issue, and if you ask me, not the right thing to do. They're supposed to be representing Americans who care about the Second Amendment, not foreign thugs. But when you spend it in politics, it is illegal, and hence the FBI looking into it. By the way, Dana Rohrabacher, who is so obviously in the tank for Russia, goes out there and does propaganda for them over and over again. And even other Republicans say Rohrabacher is Putin's favorite Republican. He has said about torsion is conservatives' favorite Russian. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder if it's all that money he's funneling into their campaigns in perhaps a secret way. Now look, when you put all this together, remember the background here, and let me read that to you too. A year ago, 3 US intelligence agencies signed off on a joint assessment that was the basis for the expulsion of 35 Russian diplomats and other sanctions against the Kremlin. The intelligence agencies concluded that what began as a sophisticated Russian operation to undermine Americans' faith in democracy morphed into a drive to help Trump win. Well, if part of that drive was to funnel tens of millions of dollars into American groups like the NRA, which then spent it as dark money in politics, and they can prove that, if they can prove that, well, then they should be arrested, and everyone involved in that plot, not just the Russians, but the people at the NRA. And if the Trump campaign knew about it, whoever at the Trump campaign knew about it should also be arrested. These are very serious issues. What if the Saudis come in and go, hey, you know what? Nice work, Russians, $10 million, I got $10 billion. I'm just gonna buy the next president. He now works for Saudi Arabia. What if the Chinese go, hey, I got a lot more money. I'll put $100 billion in. Do you understand that our system is insane? We allow for unlimited money, and it goes to independent expenditures and campaign contributions. They just buy all our politicians. Now we have dark money, so we don't know where the money comes from. So what stops any foreign government or foreign organization or crime organization from outside the country of simply coming in, giving dark money, and buying our politicians? This system is insane. You want to talk about rigged? This is rigged. Look, you know what I think you should do. wolf-pack.com. Get the money out of politics. If you don't get the 28th Amendment, this is going to happen nonstop. But in the case of foreign meddling in our elections and directly giving money that goes to campaigns, they should be put in prison. Lock them up. That is a clear violation of the law. And to this day, Vox reports today, still, NRA is not responding to press inquiries. If you didn't do it, you could easily say that is not true. We'll save the rest for our conversations with the FBI or legal proceedings. But you could at least deny it. They have not denied it. That is unbelievable. Okay, now let me go on to more insanity. Hold. All right, here we go. Now the Republicans are convinced that there's a secret plot inside the FBI, and two of the ringleaders, they say, were Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. Now they texted each other over and over again. Apparently they had a relationship that they didn't want others to find out. So they used phones they shouldn't have used, and hence people did find out. So that plan didn't go well. Now in those text messages, it's clear that they are not fond of Donald Trump. That is true. They're also, by the way, not fond of Bernie Sanders, and sometimes criticize Hillary Clinton as well. But they dislike Trump more than they dislike Hillary Clinton. It's obvious. I'll give you one tiny example. Peter Strzok in one of the messages called him, quote, an idiot. Now, Republicans go, see, he's biased. 3/4 of the country think he's an idiot. Right? So I get it, but this is really important. Strzok also said at the time in those messages that he didn't think were ever going to be discovered, that about the investigation of Donald Trump and Russian connections, quote, there's no big there. Meaning a guy who went to do the investigation did not come in with a bias against Trump. Even though he thought Trump was an idiot and didn't want him to win, he came in with a bias that Trump didn't do it. Nonetheless, Mueller, as soon as he saw the messages, said, you guys are gone. They're off the investigation. But the Republicans, of course, are never going to let it go. So now they've latched down to the idea that there is a secret society. Now, they have a text message. I now have it because ABC News found it and reported on it today. I'm going to share that with you. But before I do, I want you to get a sense of the insanity here. So we're going to start at an 11 out of 10 on insanity with Alex Jones. But then, okay, so look, when Jones was talking about it, we didn't cover it because I'm not going to cover every lunatic thing that Alex Jones says. He's got theories about the frogs are gay and the people are 80% gorilla and 80% pig. I don't have time for this madness. But now he just said yesterday that Donald Trump calls him all the time. I don't know if that's true because Alex Jones is a gigantic liar. But if the president is calling this maniac, and that is what is helping to spread the rumors, I mean, Jesus, God help us all. But then as you'll see, it has now gone down to actual Republican congressmen and senators. But first, let's start with Jones.
We have to move against them on every front, politically exposing them as the criminals. They're trying to normalize military coup right now to try to do it, try to get their people to follow the order to do it. Guaranteed, they've already been given orders to try to get a coup going in these rogue agencies. It had to happen. But they're trying to organize it, and they're trying to work with outside groups. And we're so wide open, ladies and gentlemen, they might get away with it. So I'm here to tell you, Trump needs to come out and address the nation. He needs to point this out. And then we need to see indictments of these people. We need to see Brennan and Clapper indicted for sedition, indicted for treason, indicted for multinational espionage.
So he's talking about a physical military coup there and saying because we think they're going to do a coup because of their secret plots at the FBI and intelligence agencies, we need to go arrest people that either now currently work at the intelligence agencies or used to work there before. In other words, round up our political enemies. But in case you weren't clear that he's talking about a physical actual attack against the president, not a legal proceeding, a physical military attack. Listen to this.
They're trying to get the talking points out for when they drop a 2,000-pound bomb on Trump, turn the air defenses off and have one of their crazies. They've already got picked out going there. I'm telling you, folks, the sky's the limit. I bet they got pilots ready to get in warthogs right now, somewhere in Virginia. You understand? The president needs to go in a bunker. He needs to declare this is going on. We're already in a civil war. They admit it.
How does anybody listen to that guy and go, oh yeah, no, they're about to drop a 2,000-pound bomb on the White House and murder the president. Imminent. And he riles people up and then they go, oh, I gotta grab my guns, we're in the middle of a civil war. Okay, that is not what's happening. There are legal proceedings following our laws and our Constitution. There's nobody grabbing guns, there's no tanks, there's no Hogwarts. Nobody's dropping a bomb on the White House, you lunatic. But now the lunacy is spread to officials. So now here comes Trey Gowdy, the guy who led the Benghazi investigations, talking about secret societies. Watch.
What are we talking about, secret society?
It's right after they're lamenting the fact that Trump won North Carolina and that he won Florida, and they're really disappointed in the way the election turned out. And then about an inch down from that is a conversation about perhaps this should be the first meeting of the secret society. And then about 2 texts down, they say, let's talk about it with Andy. I don't know if that's Andy McCabe, and I'm not going to allege that it is. But it's eerily similar to what they said about the insurance policy.
You kind of are. You're throwing it out into the ether.
Here are 2 bureau agents talking about a secret society. I don't have a clue what they're talking about. I don't know whether one existed, but you know what, Aaron? It's not my responsibility to prove that.
So, I mean, you know, on the show every once in a while I joke around and I say, I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. He just literally did that on television, but he wasn't joking. I mean, it could be Andy McCabe. I'm not saying anything, I just said his name. You just said his name. Of course you're saying it. Two can play at that game. Trey Gowdy might be sleeping with a mistress or several. But I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. Did I say that? I didn't say that. By the way, he's not, as far as I know. Okay, we're not like that. So anyway, but the more important part is secret society. He said it there. It's in the text. It turns out it is in the text. So here's the full text that ABC News found. So she is responding to the fact that she apparently did not get invited to a meeting or something. Lisa Page writes in, or texts to Stork, "Are you even going to give out your calendars? Seems kind of depressing. Maybe it should just be the first meeting of the secret society." In other words, you guys didn't give out your calendar. Why are you guys having that meeting without me? What is this, a secret society? It's a joke. You morons, it's a joke. And they took that and they're like, that's it, bunkers. Everybody get in the bunkers. Here comes the secret society. All right, now we go to Lou Dobbs. And they take that joke and turn it into, again, talk of arresting people and coups, etc. Here you go.
We're at the point we feared we might be. There is an all too clear requirement to determine the full extent to which the FBI, the DOJ, and Special Counsel's office have been compromised and corrupted. We've learned in the past 2 weeks that corruption is pervasive, it is deep, and it is determined. Anti-Trump FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page in their text communications wrote of a, quote, secret society within the Justice Department and the FBI. That society served not only by its members, but those within the department who've remained silent throughout. Of course, the man in charge of the FBI, Christopher Wray, has his own conflicts. He shared the same chief of staff as James Comey until today. Well, it is now obvious to all that what is needed is not mere change, but fundamental cleansing and reform. It's time to investigate the investigators and to hold the corrupt accountable.
They took a portion of a joke text and turned it into, it is now obvious that there are people within the FBI now. By the way, Stork and Page are already gone. They're already off the case. Now we are going to invent other things and pretend that they are fact when they are not. And then he called for a cleansing. Man, these are scary times. So, but they're not alone. Here comes a senator, a United States Senator, Ron Johnson. He says, everything I take with a grain of salt, but I've heard from an individual that there was a group of managers within the FBI that were holding meetings off-site. Okay, probably a couple of people went to go get coffee at Starbucks. Oh, they're off-site. That's a meeting off-site. Lunatics. I got a lot more on Johnson in a second. He says, when Stark and Page have described a secret society, that didn't surprise me because I had corroborating information. Well, that is very interesting. What corroborating information you have? You're a United States Senator. You can make that public. I mean, if you have corroborating information about a secret group within the FBI who's planning to undermine the president and overthrow the government, you better share that information. That is monumentally important. Oh, you have half a text. That's what you have. And look, no, let's hear him out though. Listen to this guy, a United States Senator who has lost his effing mind.
What this is all about is further evidence of corruption, more than bias, but corruption at the highest levels of the FBI and that secret society. We have an informant that's talking about a group that were holding secret meetings off-site. There's so much smoke here. There's so much suspicion.
Let's stop there. A secret society, secret meetings off-site of the Justice Department.
Correct.
And you have an informant saying that?
Yes.
Is there anything more about that?
No, we have to dig into it. This is not a distraction.
Did your informant confirm that these off-site meetings took place?
Now, listen, the term secret society comes from Strzok and Page. So I was just kind of connecting the dots. So that didn't surprise me when I heard that term. But again, that's Strzok and Page's term, not mine.
Just to be clear then, are you backing off of what was spoken last night?
No, I'm saying exactly the same thing. I have heard, from somebody that has talked to our committee.
Important stuff here. How many agents were involved in these alleged meetings?
I'm not going to start pointing fingers from that standpoint again. I'm just connecting the dots.
Did your whistleblower confirm that this was just the agents Strzok and Page, or were there more involved within the agency?
I think there's indications there were a number of high-level FBI officials that were holding secret meetings.
Is that half a dozen? What's the number?
Again, I can't really put a number on it right now, but more than just Strzok and Page.
Does your whistleblower currently work at the FBI?
I'm not going to get into at all, where we're getting this information. We protect our sources.
Is it one person talking to you or more than one?
I'm going to protect our sources. I don't want to give any indication because we are dealing with the world's premier investigative agency here, and people that come forward to us fear retaliation.
Yeah. So, don't Secret Society got it. I got corroborating sources. My favorite was right in the beginning. So, you're sure you have the source? And he pauses and he's like, yes. Okay. How about the other senators? If they testified in front of your committee, why don't the other senators know about it? Interesting. Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to speculate because now here comes the backpedal. Manu Raju reporting. Ron Johnson, who raised alarms this week about the FBI agent's, quote, secret society text, just told me, quote, it's a real possibility the text was written in jest. Oops. Now let me go to Fox News. Oh man, where did my Fox News quotes go? This is the favorite part of the show where you lose these. Okay, here we go. Okay. According to TV Eyes, Fox News made 90 mentions of the so-called secret society in January. So Fox News is all over. Oh yeah, Ron Johnson, Trey got it, secret society. Oh, Fox and Friends nonstop, right? However, text messages obtained by ABC News on Wednesday suggested that FBI agents were joking when they used the term secret society, but that report was never mentioned by Fox News, and there is no record of a clarification from the conservative network. But today, barely any mentions of secret society on Fox News. Oops. Bunch of clowns. But they're egging on people who are mentally unstable to do terrible things. This is a dangerous, dangerous game they're playing. All right, I gotta go because I'm playing a dangerous, dangerous game. Anna Kasparian is gonna come in here and do some damage, okay? So when we come back, so that story that I told you about, first of all, is Oprah gonna run? She has a conclusion. So you're going to want to see that. Plus, the story I told you about gender parity in terms of pay in Hollywood, something happened that I didn't expect at all. And I think that it's a really important learning moment, and I want you guys to know about it too. So come right back.
going to have Pepsi with baby flavoring in it. I mean, what the hell have we become? Excuse me.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. I've got a bunch of comments from YouTube. Super chat first. Shuyan writes in, sitting watching TYT while playing video games. What a great Australia Day this is. Well, okay, happy Australia Day to you.
I didn't know it was Australia Day.
Yeah. God, it is so great that we get to talk to people all across the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that right now there are people watching in Japan, Australia, and all across the world. So it's just great. Okay, thank you guys. And when you use YouTube Super Chat, you also help the show. Jacob writes in on there as well, hoping to help out in my own way by donating my entire Trump tax cut to Justice Democrats and by offering an arsenal of professional web marketing services free of charge.
Wow.
Just email them, and I really hope to hear back. Together we can do this. Let's crush them. I love it. So justdemocrats.com, and also, of course, wolf-pac.com. They've got a great army of volunteers. Some of the leaders I'm going to talk to tonight at Rebel headquarters. We're going to take the whole Rebel headquarters to talk about that. You're going to love meeting these guys. That's at 8:05 p.m. Eastern right here on tytnetwork.com/live. A couple of quick tweets. Santos Huante says, I'm not going to allege anything. I'm just going to say it on national television. Right. My favorite, Jay Thermo writes in, people who are in secret societies, don't call it a secret society. Just putting that out there. That is such a great point.
Yeah.
Let's get together and assassinate JFK. What should we call it? Let's publicly call it a secret society.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Jay Thermo, you get a t-shirt, man. Nice job. ShopTYT.com for some gear. And then finally, Septian Patterson says, Trump willingly wanting to talk to Mueller has made me so happy.
Yes.
I know. I know. But guys, I love it too, but let's not get too excited. He changes his mind every single day, and he's not going to talk to them. I mean, who knows? You know, if Mueller wants to actually talk to him, he should just run into him, and then he'll tell him everything, right?
Yeah. Just go to Mar-a-Lago.
You know what? That's not such a bad idea.
Just like that New York Times reporter who got that impromptu interview with him earlier. You just go to one of his resorts.
You know what? I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
You get a t-shirt.
Please don't give me a t-shirt. I have so many t-shirts, it's crazy. Although I do really want the Stable Genius one.
The Very Stable Genius is awesome.
Yes.
Anyway, no, seriously, that is I was kidding around about like just bump into him.
Yeah.
But the Mar-a-Lago idea, if you literally sent an FBI investigator to Mar-a-Lago, he will talk to them.
Yes.
But his lawyers and everyone else around him is going to tackle him, and he's going to change his mind 18 different times if it's an official proceeding.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, all right. Anyways, let's get started.
Okay, we begin with an update. During the Golden Globes, Oprah Winfrey gave a speech that hinted that she could be possibly considering a presidential run. Now, she never addressed any of those rumors until now. She gave an interview to InStyle, and during that interview, she essentially said that she is not planning on running. Although I do think that she was, this is my speculation, considering running, and she was just kind of feeling out what the response would be after her speech, and then she made her decision. Again, that's my speculation. But let me give you her exact quote. She told InStyle, "It's not something that interests me. I met with someone the other day who said that they would help me with a campaign. That's not for me." She was also quoted as saying that it's not in her DNA, which is a weird quote. I think that it could be in anyone's DNA. But I was really interested to see what the reaction was to her possibly running. And it's amazing how quickly the smear campaigns had started. I saw some of them on Facebook and they were ridiculous. So there was this video snippet of her going viral on Facebook, and she was talking about what South Africa's like post-apartheid and what it would take for racism to really be conquered in South Africa. And she talked about how, well, there's some people who were born and raised in that type of environment, they were marinated in it, and they just need to die. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, that wasn't the best way to say it, but what she essentially meant was, the people who were born and raised in that type of environment and really bought into it, they kind of need to pass on. We need newer generations with open minds. That's not how she said it. She said they need to die. And so people who don't want her to win took that snippet and made it seem like she was saying she wants white people to die.
Yeah, so sometimes people will think that Oppo research is conspiratorial.
No, it happens.
Of course, it's like anyone who's ever worked on any campaign. We talked a lot about this on Old School last night. By the way, tytnetwork.com/join. Become a member, get all of our shows, including Old School. But it's not a conspiracy. Anyone who has worked on a campaign, you know that if it's a large campaign, there's a division called Oppo Research. So they go find clips like that. Now, why would they do Oppo Research on Oprah? Because she's sitting at a 64% popularity. They don't want any piece of Oprah. Mm-hmm. Now, right or wrong, I actually don't think the Democratic voters are as enamored with celebrities as Republicans are. Republicans, all they care about is celebrities. Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, and then you've got
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're like, hey, if any Hollywood celebrity is a Republican, they're like, we'll elect you right away, right? They're not that bright, so they just go for who's on TV. And so Democrats, on the other hand, especially people like Bernie Sanders supporters. Mm-hmm. So Oprah's a good person. She's done good things in the world. You don't dismiss her out of hand, but she'd really have to win people over. That would be
right. Yeah. So to kind of add some more support to your argument, what I saw from a lot of Democratic voters was criticism toward her political inexperience. She's not very experienced politically. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's definitely contributed to campaigns, but it kind of ends there. And also the fact that she is a celebrity. Like, that's not good enough, right? Being a celebrity is not the right credential to becoming the next president of the United States. And then, the people that were worried about the Hillary types are concerned because she did support Hillary's campaign and all that. So Democrats weren't buying it as much as I think some people would expect. So,
but the Republicans and Trump's team would be panicked anyway, because one, they don't know that, and they see her at 64% approval rating, and they go, "Oh my God, Oppo Research immediately," right? And was that part of our calculation? We have no idea. But look, anyone who thinks about going into politics, if they have a chance of winning, will get hit with a ton of Oppo Research, and it makes them gun shy. Because it is dirty. You've got the Republicans. By the way, that's not even the establishment Democrats. You think in a primary they wouldn't have gone after her?
Of course.
Oh no, but she,
no.
God, she's a good person. We can't go after her. No, they would have leaked stuff all over to the press.
Maybe, but I get the sense that establishment Democrats are more in favor of her as a.
No. They overall, yeah. You know why? She's a huge Democratic donor. Mm-hmm. She's the one they serve in a sense. But if you're running a race against her, mm-hmm. they're not going to be like, oh well. But please, I'm just going to let you win, right? The only one who wouldn't do Oppo Research, and it drives me crazy, he should, is Bernie.
Yeah,
right.
He's
Can you imagine
nice
Bernie's
guy.
like, I'm going to undermine Oprah?
I can't imagine.
I literally can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, and I get it. She says it's not in my DNA, as in, I don't think I'm cut out for this. This is not what I want to do. But when she says that she wasn't interested in it, no. Stedman Graham, her longtime partner, didn't tell the LA Times she's interested in it because she wasn't interested. She didn't meet with a guy who runs campaigns by her own admission because she wasn't interested in it.
Right.
She was interested, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look, anybody who has some shot at becoming president, most powerful person on earth, could do a lot of good and change. I think it's perfectly normal to be interested in that. So it looks like she thought about it, she did some deliberations and thought, this isn't for me.
Yeah, I think she made the right decision. But she does remind me of a lot of, successful people. Like, she's never satisfied, right? I mean, she's had such a successful career, made a ton of money. She grew up in poverty and somehow managed to be one of the richest people in the world, right? But I would say, why don't you just enjoy your wealth, take a load off, have some fun. But no, she's not satisfied. I mean, she was considering it because I think, she has goals and aspirations. She wants to achieve more, and that's admirable. But I think she made the right decision here.
Yeah, that's right. And then, so it was a trial balloon. They tried it. They decided, nah, they don't like it. Or as Anna would put it, she felt it out and decided not to do it.
That's how I feel things out.
Okay, like this, one step at a time.
Okay, moving on to a nice heartwarming story. The issue of pay among genders in Hollywood has been coming up over and over again. And of course, there has been some evidence to indicate that women in Hollywood get paid significantly less than men in Hollywood. Now, Jessica Chastain is one of the actresses who's really shining a light on this issue. And recently, Octavia Spencer talked about how Chastain not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. So they're gonna work together on a new movie. It's gonna be a comedy, and it seems like it's doing well, but during negotiations over salaries for both Chastain and Octavia, an issue came up that I thought was fascinating, and what I found even more interesting was the way Jessica Chastain responded to it. Now, what you're about to watch is a panel discussion for Sundance TV, and pay close attention to what Spencer says about pay and what Chastain has done to equalize pay among women in Hollywood.
We were talking about pay equity and with men and women. And she was like, it's time that women get paid the same as men. I'm like, yeah, Jessica, it's time. And we were dropping F-bombs and getting it all out there. And then I said, but here's the thing, women of color on that spectrum, we make far less than white women. So if we're gonna have that conversation about pay equity, we gotta bring the women of color to the table. And I told her my story and we talked numbers, and she was quiet and she had no idea that that's what it was like for women of color. And so she said, I'm probably gonna, I don't know if these are happy tears. I love that woman because she's walking the walk and she's actually talking the talk. She said, Octavia, we're gonna get you paid on this film. I said, I would love to do your film, but here's the thing, I'm gonna have to get paid. And then she said, of course, and you and I are gonna be tied together. We're gonna be favored nations, and we're gonna make the same thing, and you're gonna make that amount. And fast forward to last week, we're making 5 times what Jessica Chastain believes she is walking the walk.
That's great.
And we want to, now I want to go to what the men are making. I want to get there.
Yeah.
But right now, it feels really good.
Okay, I love that video.
Yeah, I mean, if I was getting paid 5 times more, I'd feel really good too.
Yes, yes.
So no, I love that video because of what I learned from it. So I think this is a complicated issue. I don't think it's black and white. And so, but let's look at all sides of it. So first off, when we talk about gender parity in terms of pay in Hollywood, for example, the people asking for the parity are not saying that if you've got Brad Pitt in a movie and a side actress you never heard of, they should get the same pay. Nobody's making that claim. So let's just be clear about that. Now, on the other hand, sometimes they say that you got Brad Pitt and a star, but not Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie's at the same level as Brad Pitt, and they should. And I feel, and maybe I'm wrong about this, some people are saying, well, they should make the same money. I don't think that's how it works, and so I think that if it depends on the star. So, for example, Christian Bale might be a jerk in real life, but I think he's an amazing actor. Tom Hardy. Those 2 guys, I'm more likely to see a movie if they're in it. For my parents, if Meryl Streep's in a movie, they're going. Okay, so Meryl Streep would command a bigger pay than her male co-stars. Now, so it doesn't mean that everybody has to be equal, in my opinion, right? And I think that some people are stretching it too far. Now, having said that, even when you factor that in, it is clear that you'll have stars that appear to be the same exact level, and then the male is getting way more.
Right.
And yes, that could easily be the bias that's in the industry. And they might not even be aware of it. They might be thinking, No, it's not a bias. I just think Mark Wahlberg is bigger.
Right.
But why do you think he's bigger? Do you have data? And if they have data, that's a different story. Hey, here's his box office numbers. Here's their box office numbers. That's not the end all be all, but at least it's some data, right?
Right. And also, sorry to interrupt you, but one other factor that I think needs to be considered is how agents negotiate for the pay, because agents obviously play a huge role in negotiating the terms, negotiating the pay and all that. And so, how hard are these agents fighting for their female clients versus male clients? That's another thing to take into consideration.
And they might have assumptions there as well, and ones that they, again, might not even recognize. But I want to say that this made me realize, no, we think, well, there's box office, there's this, there's that, and I think a lot of people in Hollywood would think, no, Jessica Chastain's a bigger star than Octavia Spencer, but it turns out, no, they can get the same money.
Yes.
It turns out she can get 5 times more, and it was a matter of insisting on it, etc. And so it's not as impossible as people make it out to be. It's not as clear cut, black and white, in this case, literally, as it turns out. It turns out, no. Yeah, they could do the movie, they could both get paid great, and they could still make money on the movie.
Right. What this revealed to me was honestly an issue that goes ignored and neglected. So yeah, there is pay issues involving genders. There's no question. But I think oftentimes when we talk about women's issues or gender equality, minority groups get left out of that conversation. And they feel like they don't have anyone fighting for them. I remember, a couple years ago, several years ago, a woman on Twitter accused me of being a white feminist. And I was like, what does that even mean, right? And I'm really glad that she called me out, because she showed me that there was a blind spot in my thinking, right? I wasn't considering, the intersectionality and black women especially, and how they've been historically left out of feminist movements. And so she educated me on it. Like, it started off as a very tense and frustrating conversation, but that dialogue taught me about something that, again, goes neglected in the media, goes neglected in political movements. And so I love that Octavia Spencer mentioned that in that panel, because it's not just about gender. Race plays a role in how people get paid as well.
And finally, look, I also understand that Jessica Chastain there used her power as leverage to help Octavia Spencer, and it might not have been the same situation if Chastain had not done that. But at the same time, I think I might have assumed that Spencer would get less than Chastain, and it was my vague sense that she has starred in bigger movies and had bigger roles in those movies. Octavia Spencer has had great roles in plenty of movies, but not as much as leading lady as Jessica Chastain has, right? But maybe those assumptions are all wrong, because the bottom line is they did get that pay for her, and it did work. So we should all open our minds to the possibilities and have these conversations.
Absolutely. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump back into politics. There is a GOP Senate candidate that is bananas.
No, you're going to love his quotes.
Bananas.
If they were on tape, I'd have them all over the soundboard. So don't miss this. Come right back. All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
Like a smart Destiny's Child.
We're all too strong.
We start a revolution. Yes, another one.
Aren't you excited?
Wow.
Some of the best writers in the country are right here on this panel, with the obvious exception of John Irola.
Let's not so quickly discount Harry Potter fan fiction.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
What ran me away from Christianity was judgment and condemnation.
Assaulting peaceful protesters in North Dakota, crazier than bombing Yemen, crazier than bombing Syria so much they ran out of bombs.
Reductive interpretation of what their motives are, what Putin's are, by these amateur experts is just beyond.
We don't kill our journalists, and they do.
happen easy for me. I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. All my life, I was told no.
He said I had small hands. They're not small, are they? I never heard that one before.
All right, back on the Young Turks, couple tweets. Mathemagician writes in, the lovely Professor Anna is in the house to ride shotgun with Cenk for hour 2. That's nice. Dancing Queen says, ha ha ha, yes. That's a great way of reading it. Ha 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 ha, yes. Just go to Mar-a-Lago with chocolate cake and Diet Coke. Okay, it's a good addition to our plan. I like that. Well, good thinking there. You know what, Dancing Queen t-shirt. Go nuts. You know why? You're a very stable genius, and you deserve a very stable genius shirt. Shop TYT.com. All right, and the last one is Jerry Mandarin says, ironic how the family values GOP supports celebrity candidates while at the same time railing against so-called liberal Hollywood elites as being the scourge on society. Indeed, irony.
Yeah.
All right, so I have been promising you guys an announcement for a while, so let's do it, okay? We have a dramatic announcement.
You're ridiculous.
Wait, and then we got to do this too, right? Yeah. Okay. Young Turks is actually turning 16 years old on February 14th.
Oh,
Isn't that amazing?
Not so young anymore.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. You know that we are the longest running show on the internet.
I believe it.
Isn't that badass? So now we've been on the internet for 12 years, but we started as a radio show. So it's going to be our it's our Sweet 16 birthday party. And so we're literally going to do a party/rally.
And we're all going to wear big poofy dresses.
I was not made aware of that. I promise no poofy dress for me. Okay, so we want you guys to participate. It's going to be in LA. It's going to be awesome. tytnetwork.com/party to get tickets. Now, look, we're selling tickets because we want to make sure that people actually come. Because if you RSVP, then more than half the time people don't actually come.
Right.
And I don't want you to say you're coming and then take someone else's spot, and then you don't show up and other people can't come.
Right, the space is very limited. So, making people pay a small amount ensures that people are gonna show up.
Yeah, so we're just a small amount. Tickets are only $225.
That's it.
That's it. I'm just kidding. They're $10. They're $10. The $10 is not to make money off of it. It's just to make sure you guys are coming. Okay. So go to tytnetwork.com/party. Now, in order to help finance the event so that we can actually put it on, we're also doing VIPs. So all that means is that you get to meet and greet with us, you get to take pictures, etc., with me, Anna, John, JR, Jimmy, Ben, and a bunch of the other hosts here at the TYT Network. So that's more limited. There's only 50 spots there. And it's $100, but it helps to pay for the whole event. So we figured you guys get to, if you want to do that, take the pictures, etc., and it makes the event possible. So both the $10 tickets and the $100 tickets are at tytnetwork.com/party. It's February 15th, because that's a Thursday night, and it is going to be here in LA. And tickets are limited, so go forward, and we'd love to see you there.
All right, fun stuff. You ready for stories?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That was weird, right?
I know.
So I was trying to decide if I should tell you more about the event. I'll tell you more later. Let's do stories.
There is a GOP candidate in Missouri who is running for a Senate seat. His name is Cortland Sykes. And he is very open about the fact that he looks ridiculous in that photo, among other things. Now, the reason why he's getting a little bit of attention is because he has been asked about his feelings in regard to women's rights. And he has said some things that have upset some women. I'll tell you why. Now, let me give you the details. The question is, do you favor women's rights? And he says this. He has a fiance named Chanel, and he says, well, Chanel, my fiance, has given me orders to favor them, so I'd better. But Chanel knows that my obedience comes with a small price that she loves to pay anyway. I want to come home to a home-cooked dinner at 6 every night, one that she fixes, and one that I expect one day to have daughters learn to fix after they become traditional homemakers and family wives. Think Norman Rockwell here and Gloria Steinem be damned.
So let's pause here. So when it first started out, I was like, oh, they like to play games. Like, he's been a bad boy and he needs to be obedient, right? And then they're switching it up for dinner and etc. And I'm like, you do you, boo, okay?
Yeah.
And right back at you. So you and Chanel go nuts. It started out fun. At the end, they're Norman Rockwell, no problem with Norman Rockwell. Having dinner ready for me, I mean, I don't know if you're playing some sort of games, okay, fine, but if you expect that that's how your daughters should react, you're losing me. Gloria Steinem be damned, okay, needlessly hostile. Tip of the iceberg.
Definitely the tippy tip of the iceberg. So he continues. I don't buy into radical feminism's crazed definition of modern womanhood, and I never did. They don't own that definition and never did. They made it up to suit their own nasty, snake-filled heads. Modern women can be anything they want, including traditional women, as millions are and millions more are fast becoming. Okay, so I have many things to say in response to his statement. So first of all, the whole point of feminism is not to strangle women and tell them you must be a career-oriented woman or else we'll come after you. No, it's just telling women do you boo, you want to be a homemaker, awesome. You want to be a stay-at-home mom, one of the most difficult things in the world to do, more power to you. But let's have equality of opportunity in the workplace for women who do want to be career oriented. And so look, I can't stand people who look down on or criticize women who choose to be homemakers. I think that that is their choice, and if they're happy doing it, again, all the more power to you. But I also equally despise people who criticize women who choose to be career-oriented women. What's wrong with that? Now he continues to attack them.
No, look, let's be fair here, Anna. Of course you would think that because your head is filled with snakes.
Yes, I am a, what did he say?
Snake-filled heads. Okay. I'm going to use. I've never heard that before. I'm going to use that from now on. They're snake-filled heads.
So he continues. There's more. There's more. So he talks about his daughters. He doesn't have daughters yet. He's just assuming that one day he'll have daughters, and this is what he has to say about them. I don't want them to grow up into career-obsessed banshees.
Awesome, banshees. Bringing banshees back. Okay.
Who forego home life and children and the happiness of family to become nail-biting, manophobic, hellbent feminist she-devils who shriek from the tops of 1,000-tall buildings think they could have leaped over in a single bound had men not suppressing them. By the way, we didn't mistakenly write the graphics this way. This was literally copied and pasted from his website. This is the way he wrote it. He also continues to say, had men not been suppressing them, it's just nuts. It always was. Okay.
Okay. So this guy's colorful, man. His blue steel is not the only thing that's colorful. The banshees, the snake-filled heads, the hell-bent feminist she-devils. But by the way, I believe in women's rights. Okay, when they ask me about it.
Because he has a fiance who's making him believe in women's rights, by the way.
And I love that too. Yeah. So he reminded me of the guy, the Klan guy that I saw get interviewed once. He says, oh, these N-words, they're inferior, they have poor genes, etc. So the reporter asked him, so you're racist? He's like, no, I'm not racist. I'm pretty sure you are, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, the she-devil banshees with their snake-filled heads. So you're against women's rights? No, I'm for women's rights.
Yeah, it's
I'm for women's rights as long as they stay at home and do exactly as I tell them and have dinner ready by 6. Feminists aren't against choice, you're against choice.
Exactly.
Feminists say, okay, get dinner ready if you want to, do it for yourself, do it for your husband if you want to, go work if you want to. It's to empower women to do whatever they want. This guy says, no, I'm gonna teach my daughters not to shout from 1,000-tall-foot buildings or whatever, and be banshees, and I'm gonna make them have dinner for their husbands. By the way, there's no way that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and also there's this misconception that all feminists, they're all the same, they're all radical, they hate men. I can assure you, I don't hate men. I like men a lot. Okay, yeah. I like my man a lot. Okay, and look, there are some components of our relationship that are extremely modern, some components of our relationship that are very traditional. Like I get turned on when he does handy things around the house. I don't think that takes my feminist cred away, right? Mm-hmm. I like feeling protected. I like feeling small and and what I mean by small is like physically small and protected when I'm around him. That's totally fine. Feminism, again, for the billionth time, is not about telling people what to do or judging people based on whether or not they live their lives in a traditional manner. Again, do you, boo? It's just interesting how hostile he is and how angry he is. Like, just let's calm it down a little bit.
No, the dude's got issues, look, it's obvious that he is projecting his issues with women onto all women and to feminists. So he thinks, I want women to do this and only this. So feminists must also want them to do this and only this, right? It's a conservative 101. I want to have huge government and that controls your life. I want to tell you who you can sleep with, when you should have dinner ready, what to do with your bodies. And then what do they say about liberals? Oh, they want big government that controls your lives.
I know.
Right.
So there's one other part of this. He also has been posting some negative things about Democratic women on his Facebook page. And this is one of the images he posted that's been getting a lot of heat. He makes the argument that Democratic women dress like Disney villains because they want to be Disney villains. And so he got pushback on that. And here's the way he reacted to it. After seeing the way Democrats have attacked strong conservative women like Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and our First Lady, our campaign rightfully pointed out that Democrats are acting and dressing like Disney villains. If Democrats like Claire McCaskill, who, by the way, he would run against if he won in the Republican primary, don't want to be compared to Disney villains, then they should stop emulating them. Okay, but, okay, what? So conservatives attack Democratic women constantly, and I'm not talking about voters and private citizens, okay? I'm talking about public figures. So let's take the private citizens out of it, because yes, private citizens have said despicable things about first ladies, whether they're conservatives or liberals, and it's wrong, but they're private citizens. When it comes to public figures, people on the conservative side will go on the record saying some of the most horrendous things about Democratic women. Think about what happened with Michelle Obama. I have a bunch of examples for you. Case in point, let's go to Glenn Beck talking about the way Michelle Obama dressed while Obama's administration was in power. Take a look.
The most Marie Antoinette I have ever seen of anything with Michelle Obama. Did you see the dress she was wearing while she went down and toured the oil spill? Did you see it?
I did not.
This is good stuff.
Okay.
She looks like, who pulls this dress out of the closet and says, you know what, I think I'm going to go tour the oil, because I can relate. It's a designer dress, all white, that has black splotches.
So you don't
all over
think
it.
she was appropriately dressed for the oil spill?
I think this is an outrage. This is like,
it's an outrage.
Oh, it's
her dress was an outrage.
It's an outrage. Look at the dress.
You guys.
Okay.
But
right.
I'm so baffled by that. What was wrong with that dress?
I don't know. I guess they thought she was trying to make a statement because it looked like there were black splotches on her dress. They thought that it was supposed to represent the oil. I have no idea.
Before they went to the picture, I thought that the way he set it up, that she was going to be in a gown. Like she came out of the oil spill in like a wedding dress or something. What the hell is he talking about?
In 2009, there was literally a debate among media figures in regard to whether or not it was appropriate for Michelle Obama to show her arms, to wear sleeveless clothing, okay? I'll give you some more examples. Here is a photo of Michelle Obama wearing a beautiful red dress I believe it was in 2010. It was some sort of White House event.
You say beautiful red dress, I say outrage.
No, but there were people who were outraged by it. Jim Hoft is an example, criticized not only the color the First Lady chose to wear, calling the event the commie red China Obama State Dinner, but also the fit of the gown. He thought it fit her in a bizarre way.
I don't even know what that means. Does that mean it was too tight, too loose?
I also don't know.
Did he perv out on it? Well, why is he checking out the fit of the dress?
And then finally, of course, Rush Limbaugh had things to say about Michelle Obama. Here's what he had to say about her weight, which was strange.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on now.
No. Let me read you his quote. It doesn't look like Michelle Obama follows her own nutritionary dietary advice. I'm trying to say that our First Lady does not project the image of women that you might see on the cover of Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue or of a woman Alex Rodriguez might date.
Is that the new standard? What? So would Alex Rodriguez have dated Barbara Bush?
I just don't get it.
I'm not saying anything. I mean, God bless you, Barbs, but okay. They're so insane. And how could you sit there? Look, when I make fun of Chris Christie, when Jimmy eggs me out to make fun of Chris Christie, I make note that I live in a glass house on that issue and we're similar. But if I were to make fun of Brad Pitt or something, be like, get a load of that guy's weight.
I know. That is such a good way of putting it, because Michelle Obama was cut. Like, she had these insanely toned arms, and I loved when she wore sleeveless shirts. Like, it inspired me. Like, I need to get on it. But yeah, look. She was criticized by those on the right very openly. These were public figures. It was incessant. And for anyone who criticizes the First Lady, whether she's a conservative or liberal or progressive, whatever, just don't do it. Don't do it, okay? You might hate the president, but it doesn't mean that you get to go on and attack their family members. Usually the First Lady is super benign.
Okay, I thought they were in favor of guns. Michelle Obama had guns. All right, one last thing. Go back to the first graphic there, Chip, Skip. That was funny. Okay, so can we go back to the first graphic because of Mr. Cortland's Sykes. This guy is talking about how people are dressing like movie villains. He looks like a Bond villain. Okay, actually, he looks like an Austin Powers villain.
Yeah, that look though. That squinty look.
I'm sure that he took that picture and thought, nailed it.
Yeah, winning.
Zoolander, they're casting next, so Cortland, give it a tryout because you certainly ain't going to be senator.
Amazing.
Okay.
All right, we are unfortunately running out of time, so I want to skip ahead to an update on a story Cenk did earlier this week. Trump likes to appoint people for positions that they have no experience in, maybe because he was elected for a position he has no experience for. Now, the recent example was a 24-year-old who was named the Deputy Chief of Staff for the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. 24 years old, and you're thinking, oh, well, okay, that's young. But maybe he's like a super smart guy, you know? Maybe he's kind of like a stable genius or something. And then you kind of look into his background and you find, no, he has little to no experience. So after there was some evidence indicating that he lied on his resumes, revised them, and then continued to lie on his resumes, the White House has announced that he will be resigning from that position. So Taylor Wayanith is his name. He graduated from college back in May of 2016, and he was named the White House liaison to the drug office the following March, and then he was promoted to Deputy Chief of Staff in July at the age of 23. Now, one of the reasons why he got promoted so quickly is because there's so much turnover in the Trump administration. Now, he, according to the White House, has decided to depart with the ONDCP at the end of the month. He did revise dates relating to certain jobs he held, including one at a New York law firm. When the Washington Post reached out to the law firm, a partner told the Post that he was discharged because he just stopped showing up at work.
Well, he just did the same thing right now, but he was asked to stop working in this case.
Right.
My favorite part of that story was the thing he had on his resume about how he did a lot of work at a monastery. He's like, I did 275 hours of work at a monastery. They questioned it. Came out with a new resume. Fine, 150 hours of work at a monastery. They questioned it again. He came out with a third resume. Monastery's gone.
Gone.
Gone. In a monastery. Okay. Look, dude, when you keep changing the resume, you think we're not going to notice that it went from 275 to 150 to 0? Okay.
He said that he got a master's degree from Fordham University. A university spokesperson said, no, he didn't finish his coursework.
So let me get this right. A person who didn't do well at school at Fordham lies all the time and doesn't like to work. Gee, I wonder why Trump picked him in the first place.
He's perfect.
He probably was like, now that's a chip off the old block. I like that guy. Well, now that they're caught with their hand in the cookie jar, they got to get rid of him. He had a deputy position. It was hugely important about the opioid crisis. Luckily, he's gone now. All right, next, Wolfpack on Rebel headquarters. Bye-bye. Rebel headquarters. We're gonna special Rebel headquarters. Wolfpack's in the house. Hey guys, how you doing? All right. So we've talked to people from Wolfpack before. You guys saw Brian and Josh. So Ace's mechanic. You saw Mike Mineta. You've seen Allison Hartson, who of course now is running against Dianne Feinstein. Oh, you know they never saw you? Oh, okay, we'll have to have you on another time. Okay, that's the mechanic. There are others here. Wolfpack's doing a leadership get-together here in California, hence why they're in the studio. So let me introduce everybody, and then I want to talk to them about what does Wolfpack do, what do they do, how do they come to it, etc. So Alexis Alberts is Wolfpack's Ohio organizing director. Thank you for coming, Alexis, we appreciate it. John Shen is the guy you guys just hired. Okay, I say you guys because we got donations from you guys, wolf-pack.com/John if you want to keep going, okay? And because of that, we said we'd hire him, and John is now officially hired, and he's a national coordinator. Great to have you here, John. And then Richard Saffel is our legislative director in West Virginia, and he has the clever nickname of Richard Wolfpack Saffel, which I suppose could apply to anyone, okay? And I found out tragically that Alexis does not have a nickname. We're gonna have to work on that on this program. John is the closer, which is an awesome nickname, almost as good as the mechanic, who's also in the studio here but watching. Okay, so first of all, if you don't know Wolfpack, you're crazy, dog. Okay, Wolfpack is of course to get money out of politics, and it's by getting an amendment. So John, let me start with you, okay? So for those folks at home who don't know, what's our plan for getting an amendment?
All right, so Wolfpack's plan deals with the second part of Article 5. So under Article 5 of the US Constitution, there are two ways to get an amendment to the Constitution itself. One is 2/3 of Congress can propose an amendment, or 2/3 of the state legislatures can apply to Congress for a convention. And once 2/3 of the state legislatures do that, convention is called, and then an amendment is proposed at that convention.
Yeah, that sounds scary. It might. That sounds like it might produce an amendment that fixes our democracy. Wow, that's wow, interesting. So I kid around about that because forget Republicans, Democrats are like, oh my God, what if we have real change? Exactly, that's exactly what we're going for. So look, I want to talk more about the process in a second, but I also want to find out about you guys. So Richard, I hear that you have a position very involved in politics. You're a line cook at IHOP.
Yes, I'm embroiled in politics every day, making pancakes.
Well, you know, I used to say on the show all the time that like when we had a celebratory moment, because there was an IHOP around the corner, I'd say it was IHOP time. And I'd take the whole crew. Now that would be 100 people, so that's a little harder. But the old school guys that were around, Edwin, Bart, Jesus, JR, etc., and we go to IHOP. So when we get the amendment, it's going to be IHOP time, and we're coming to your West Virginia IHOP, okay?
And I am taking that day off.
All right, so you're working as a cook at IHOP. What in the world possesses you to get involved to try to get money out of politics?
Honestly, the thing that made me join Wolfpack was the McCutcheon decision in the video that you did, the 60-minute video talking about the McCutcheon decision. After that, the rest is history. I mean, my little brother joined Wolfpack, I joined Wolfpack, and it turns out there was no West Virginia Wolfpack. So he became the first state director. A few months later, he couldn't keep up. He was too busy with the rest of his life to be able to continue doing it. I became state director, and 4 years later, almost, here I am.
Yeah, that's amazing. So look, it's so heartening to hear because of course I remember the McCutcheon decision. I don't remember the video I made on it. What was it about that triggered you to want to get involved and spend your free time doing this instead of having fun, going to the movies, whatever?
It was the last straw. I got into politics watching TYT and the news itself about a year before that. Honestly, started watching Alex Jones and TYT at the same time. And
wow, that's really interesting.
I don't watch Alex Jones anymore.
Oh, you don't? Okay, oh, thanks God.
It's weird because he would talk about all these things that never happened, and then you would talk about these things that were actually happening. But that being said, I started watching TYT and I started seeing all these videos about all these things that made me angry, but at the same time, the connecting ingredient in all of them was money and politics. And when the McCutcheon decision happened and the video you did about the angry video you did, that was just the last straw. And that was when I had to finally stand up and do something about it.
You know, before we go to there's one more quick thing for you, Richard. So has it been, you know, I said you could be doing fun things like going to the movies or something, but has it been fun? Has it been hard? What has your experience been?
All of those things. There's been aspects of this that have been the funnest things I've done in my life, and then there's been some of the hardest things I've done, like the first time you met the legislator. That's not the easiest thing to do the first time, but it's not the hardest thing to do either. It's also some of the funnest things I've done. Being able to go to the Capitol and see democracy in action, that's fun.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love to hear that. And so, legislator, you go, hey, I want a meeting, and they give you a meeting?
Sometimes. Sometimes you have to try a little harder, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, democracy is still alive at the state level, as you say. I mean, I can get a meeting with the majority of the people in my state house long before I'm ever getting a meeting with Joe Manchin or Shelley Moore Capito for my state. So
that's awesome. You know how many legislators you've met with?
I've lost track at this point.
Wow. Okay, more than 10?
More than 100, probably.
More than 100. So look, guys, think about that for a second. So Richard is a cook at IHOP. There's nothing secret. He's not secretly a lobbyist, right? He didn't know how to do this before. He got involved. We're a team. We work together. We teach each other. We train each other, etc. And he's met with over 100 legislators. He's taking power back into his own hands. Isn't that awesome? Look, as we go to the other stories, I want to throw up links to it. So this is how you could volunteer, you could donate, but the most important thing is that we need warriors. We need an army of volunteers. So the links to how you can do that will be in the description box below on YouTube, in the comment section on Facebook. So the donations make all this possible. Like I said, it helped to hire John. Everybody, there's only just a couple of staffers, and everybody else is volunteers. So both are super important. Get involved in your own states there. So Alexis, let's go to you. So you're in Ohio. What do you do for a living, first of all?
I sell property and casualty insurance. So nothing to do with politics directly.
Okay, so how did you get involved in Wolfpack?
I started at my last position, my last agency, I started working with a volunteer group called Meals Till Monday, which helped put food in the backpacks of elementary school kids who wouldn't have it otherwise over the weekend. And when I looked into that problem, I found that it led back directly to the legislation that was being put in place. So, and then the harder I dug, the more I found that the only way to fix that problem and all the other things I care about is to fix campaign finance and the system that we currently have. So.
Yeah, you know, both of your stories, and it's very logical, it reminds me of Allison. So Allison Hartson now running against Dianne Feinstein in California. Go support her right now. We'll put that link down below as well. She started out as a teacher in Orange County, just like you. She dug in and she's like, there's something wrong here. Why don't my kids have any funding? And all the different things that she was seeing with her own eyes, and people being deported, yes, back then as well, right? And she taught in a lower income neighborhood, and she's seeing families get torn apart. She looks into it and goes, oh, it turns out when you do a little bit of research, it's actually fairly clear. It's money and politics. And then she did a search of all of the groups, and she had never heard of the Young Turks, and said, okay, this group has a logical plan. The rest of them, like, okay, and like, okay, all right, we let people know about the problem, and right, like, look, I don't want to. Some of the groups I got no love for. Some of them do good work and they're chipping away at it, local laws, legislation, etc. But this is the fix. You go above the Supreme Court, you get an amendment, and you fix it for good. So it's not a little here and there, and you think amendment's super hard. Getting legislation passed in Congress, in this corrupt Congress, I would argue is harder. They're never going to let their people take away their power. They got their power through this corrupt system. But if you go to the state level, you could actually call for a convention by meeting with the legislators as you guys are doing. And then we could actually go around Washington. It is enormously doable. So, but Alexis, to continue with your story, so why Wolfpack? How did you find it, and why did you decide to get involved in this group?
Well, I've been watching TYT since 2014, so I've had the fire. I just haven't had whatever it took to get me involved with Wolfpack. But after the 2016 election, that's when it happened. So there was just a breaking point. I had to jump in.
Okay, wow, I didn't know. See, I don't know a lot of these stories, so that's great to hear. I'm glad that it made a little bit of a difference. So how did you wind up becoming the organizing director in Ohio?
There was a need. So just like Wolfpack Saffel said, Ohio was a pretty small team. We had a couple of organizers and we had a few people who were wanting to be active, but we really didn't know what we were doing. So the national team, the national coordinator who was working with us, he kind of identified a couple of people who were really fired up about it and had the time, and helped us. He empowered us to help everybody else in our state.
You know why? Because in Ohio we needed an insurance policy.
That's right. I sense a nickname coming.
Yeah, I know, right? So lately, there's been all these goofy movies like Liam Neeson on the train, and he's the commuter. I'm like, that's not a thing. That's like the least cool thing there is. Right? So you do insurance policies. What's the title of the role?
I'm a customer service representative / agent. So I do a little bit of like servicing policies for people and then also selling things that they need.
The selling things person. No, that's not working. We got to work on it.
The agent.
The agent.
The agent.
Oh.
Dun dun dun.
No. We should have a secret committee on it. We should.
A secret society.
Secret society. Yeah. No secret societies. We're out in the open. Wolf-pack.com. All right, guys. We're gonna take a quick break here. We're gonna come back and then let's meet John. He's a chemist. I mean, look at this. This is America. This is America, okay? And talk about how you can get involved and how what the next steps are to actually win to get money out of politics. Come right back. on Young Turks. Important announcement for you guys. Deadlines are coming up to register to vote. Look, I tell you guys, most important thing is voting in primaries. Primaries, right? So what I want to do is to help out and actually tell you how to do that. If you haven't registered, and in a lot of these states, you got to register ahead of time. Some states you can show up on day of, but a lot of states you can't. Some of those deadlines are coming up. Did you know, for example, in Texas, it's just 10 days away. They close registration, which is insane to me, but on February 5th. So you got to go right now. And in primaries, you usually have low voter turnout, especially in non-presidential election years. Like 2014 had the lowest voter turnout since World War II. So let's go get them. You can get real progressives into office if you act now, you register and you go vote in those primaries, especially while the corporate Democrats are asleep. So go to usa.gov/voter-registration-deadlines, but it's okay, the link's down below. So if you're watching on YouTube, just click on the link. On Facebook, it's in the comment section, just click on the link and go, whatever state you're in, it doesn't matter, okay? It'll show you how to get registered in your own state. So please do that now. The whole House of Representatives up for election, third of the Senate, and so many governors, and vote in your local elections too. Get involved. If you don't vote in primaries, then don't complain about the general election. You got to go do it right now. Okay, now let's go back to Wolfpack. So we're talking to a lot of the leaders of Wolfpack here that are in the studio today, and we talked to Richard and Alexis. I want to go to John Shen next. John, you went to Yale and got a master's in chemistry, and then obviously decided to get money out of politics. Okay.
Sounds logical to me.
Right. So real quick, like I asked everyone else, what made you want to get involved in that instead of pursuing what you got a master's in?
So I found TYT around the time that I was getting more politically aware with the Bernie Sanders campaign, and I think, honestly, I heard you say wolf-pack.com one too many times, similar to Alexis. But if I had to put it on a video, I would say the video you did on Rhode Island when their team passed the resolution through their state to make them number 5. It was incredibly inspiring, and kind of my first thoughts that I could actually make change happen myself, not relying upon my vote every time an election comes around to maybe get a champion into an elected body. I could make my voice be heard on my own.
Yeah, there's no knight in shining armor. There's no politician that can come save you, right? You got to save yourself. You're the knight in shining armor. So you're right. You know, that Rhode Island victory, we've obviously had 5 of them. You get 34, and that's when you get the convention. And then you get the amendment, and then you got to have 38 states ratify it. It isn't easy, but you do it one by one. And each one of them has been an amazing story. In Illinois, they called the Wolfpack team the Mountain Army, and they were an irresistible force. Couldn't stop them. Allison Hartz in California organized over 1,000 volunteers and got it passed. And in Rhode Island, the senators told the people, the Wolfpack volunteers in the galley, don't clap, don't make a noise because this breaks decorum. And then when it passed, the senators stood up and gave them a standing ovation. Jesus, man. I mean, look, I've seen it be the greatest moments in people's life because you are taking charge, and this is what democracy is supposed to look like. So John, I want to thank you for, because you got a really bright future ahead of you, and for you to stop what you were doing and to come and volunteer for us, and his nickname's the closer because he was always the last one out there and still fighting every day in Connecticut, his home state, and then to come and work for us, and I want to thank you guys for hiring him because you did. We hired him with the money that you donated. Really, really appreciate it. So actually, let me stay with you for 1 second and talk about canvassing.
Absolutely.
Because that's what you were great at. And so what is it, what do people do, and why does it make a difference?
So I got, one of my first activities with Wolfpack was on the Kava campaign when we got involved in a special election for the Connecticut State Senate.
Yeah, Kava, we got a Hava.
We got a Hava, yeah. Didn't end up pulling out the win, but for that campaign, I was basically on the ground going door to door, every single day, talking to constituents and voters, and just letting them know the one issue that we campaigned on, money in politics, Kava was the better candidate. And it was amazing to me to see. I talked to voters all across the political spectrum, including some Trump voters who invited me into their home, into their kitchen, and we, railed on about money in politics for 15 minutes, And
yeah.
I should have been getting back on the road.
No wonder you were the last one to come in. Now we know why he's the closer. Sitting there having coffee with the Republicans all day long, which, by the way, it's a totally nonpartisan group. And that story you tell, I hear all the time from Wolfpack volunteers all across the country. Republicans hate crony capitalism. They don't like money in politics either. They don't want Soros money in there, Bloomberg money, union money. We don't want, me personally as a progressive, I don't want Mercer money. I don't want Koch brothers money. Get it all out. I don't want corporate money or union money. Let's get back to democracy. So you got energized by that, and so that was a campaign. By the way, we didn't win, but it was that seat had been held for 100 years by Republicans, and we closed a 26-point lead. So it was 30 points. Well, I believe it was the margin of victory in the last election, and I think we brought it down to around 4 or 5, right? So yeah, in that ballpark. Yeah. So I remember saying at the time, next time you're against Wolfpack and you vote against democracy, you better have a 26-point lead. So, yeah, and in New Hampshire, we rallied against a legislator there, and he'd been in office for decades, and we took him out. So it's just empowering when you do that. You can help people if they're supporting you, and you can work against them. But canvassing is not just in elections; it's also to actually get legislation passed. So let me go back to Richard now. So what is the capital game? Okay, it sounds like maybe something they might play on Wall Street, but it's not, right?
Not exactly. We wouldn't have it in West Virginia if that was the capital game. So capital game is how you effectively advocate to your state house. It's the time that you spend at your state house trying to get in front of politicians, trying to get your legislation passed. In West Virginia, we had no capital game when we started. We barely had a team. We didn't know any of the legislators. None of us were connected, I guess you could say. But over 4 years, we've grown into a capital game, from maintaining a presence at the Capitol, from building relationships with legislators, and from never giving up. It's something you have to maintain. It's something you have to continue towards. It's not something you do for maybe a session and then we win. No, unfortunately, it takes a little bit longer than that to build a strong capital game. But any team, especially, asking the teams that have won, they didn't win from just calling the legislators and they just magically passed the bill. You have to have a capital game if you want to win your state.
Yeah.
Period, end of story.
Yeah, and so no professional lobbyists here, but we work hard. And so I know a lot of Wolfpack volunteers across the country that now are on a first name basis with a lot of their legislators. They'll go to barbecues with them, they'll go have drinks with them, which is pretty neat because these are not corrupt people. These are actually state legislators who actually care, and a lot of them got into it because just like you guys, just like you, they care about the issues. I'm not saying they're all angels, right? And sometimes you got to apply pressure, and hence the races that we run, et cetera. And I remember in the New Hampshire race, our national director Mike Mineta runs into the guy we were running against at Burger King on the night before the election, and he asks him, "Are you the guy? Are you the guys who came to get me?" And, and the correct answer is goddamn right, right? And he was gone. He lost the election the next day, and that's hardball too. But also, some of them are good guys, and you help them win elections. And that's part of the capital game and building up those relationships. We talk about Republicans, et cetera. Again, Pennsylvania volunteers told me Trump's going to win. Right, we're going house to house to house, nothing but Trump, right? And so it's you get to meet people, you get to do all these things. I'm just so excited by all the things that's involved. So Alexis, finally come back to you. We mentioned that you're an organizer in Ohio. What does that mean? What does an organizer do?
So we say this all the time, but upwards of 90% of Americans believe that this is a huge issue. This is the issue to fix the other issues. And they want to help, they want to fight for it, but to fight to fix it, but they don't know how. So as an organizer, what you'd be doing is you'd be empowering people just like you who want to fight for this and fix it to do that. You'd be calling them to check in with them and helping them call their legislators and then training them, giving them tips, sharing the things that you've learned and learning things from them and working together to fix it. So organizers are super important.
And it's obvious from what we've told you that there's a clear way to work your way up here, right? So Allison Hartson comes in as a volunteer, goes on to organizer, then becomes national director, and obviously now running for the Senate. Wouldn't it be amazing, right? And if we did this throughout the years and we put all these folks, we get money out of politics and then we put a lot of folks into whether it's state office or national office. Tim Smith up in New Hampshire, he's a Wolfpack supporter. He started out that way, and now he's a legislator there. And I can name you several other legislators throughout the country that cared, got into it because of money in politics, and now they represent you guys. So come join us. Let's fight together. And this, I tell you this too, fulfillment. It's a hell of a drug, and you're gonna have fun. It's gonna be some of the best times of your life. And if we win, let us whisper of a dream. That day that we get the amendment is going to be the greatest day there ever was. I'll end on this one last story. Allison, she would go state to state as Mike does, our national director. Now Josh does, and Brian does, et cetera, and now John will as well. And you go into all these different states because they all vote in similar times, and you're trying to win in Missouri at the same time as New Hampshire, and one guy's got to go to one place, the other person has to go to the other. And so Allison had developed such a reputation that she walked into a meeting once, and the lobbyist turned and said, "Oh no, she's here." Oh, come on, how great does that feel? So come and experience that. It's the feeling of a lifetime. And I want to thank all you guys, Richard, John, Alexis, everyone else that's here as the part of leadership of Wolfpack, guys who've been here for a long, long time. Todd in Texas, getting Republicans on our team for all these years. And like I said, look, this is the one thing that the whole country agrees on. 93% of Americans say that politicians represent their donors and not their voters. We can change that, and we can actually unite the country on this issue. Let's do it together. wolf-pack.com. All the links are down below. Make sure you volunteer, donate, whatever you can do to help so that we can win and fix our government and get our democracy back. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.